Spread love, be love. Love Browne is the founder and co-creator of All Love Kauai, proud participants in the self-love revolution. All Love is not just a brand, not just a movement, not just a lifestyle. It's a new way of being. Our only job in this life is to take care of ourselves. The rest falls into place when we do that job. And here to tell us all about all love, self-awareness, and self-mastery, from the beautiful island of Kauai, my friend and sister goddess, Love Browne. Here we go. I wish I had the beach out here, but we don't. We'll have to come back real soon. Real soon.
Kauai misses you.
Oh, I miss Kauai. It was so fun. One of my favorite trips so far, actually.
Nice. Yeah, it's just such a very, I say it over and over and over again, but there's just such a very gentle, nurturing, healing, subtle energy here that tends to give you exactly what you need. And you might not even know what you really need, but it just, and I've seen it with myself and so many other people who come here, like how Mother Kauai, she just wraps her arms around you in this just subtle way, and you really leave feeling either more clear, more grounded, maybe shaken up a bit because you need to make a change and you now feel that confidence and that courage to do so. She's just, I still pinch myself.
Yeah, so how long have you been living there now?
So I've been here almost 3 years. I do want to travel more, but this is my base. Kauai is my base. It's my home. I can see no matter where I go in the world, coming back to just recharge and be a part of the beautiful community that's here. So yes, this is home.
Yeah, and well, what's not to love? Speaking of love, I just absolutely fell in love with your message. I mean, for you to come up with this whole concept of spreading love through apparel, it's just like you hooked me right there. So I'd love to start at the beginning. Like 3 years ago, you moved to Kauai. What instigated that?
Okay, so it's a little backstory, and it just all shows how when we surrender, and when we trust the divine orchestration of it all. I had no idea I would be here in Kauai, honestly, Yvonne. I've been here 3 years. Prior to that, 3 years before, I was just living in the Caribbean, in the Turks and Caicos. And a friend of mine, she has a yoga and Pilates studio there. And she called me one day and she's like, oh my gosh, I need a huge favor. Could you please come run my studio? And I was like, I can't run your studio. I'm not a yoga teacher. I was just like automatically like, there's no way. She was like, no, I've seen your practice. Trust me, you got it. This is like resort yoga, so it's like people who are kind of coming on vacation and it's more like gentle stretching. And she's like, you got it. So I'm like, okay, all right, let's do it. I'm always up for a challenge. And I go off of how I feel. Like I felt no hesitation, no reservation, just do it. So I went there, ended up teaching. The very first day I get to the class and I stand up, I'm nervous, I'm shaking. And once I opened my mouth, it was like there was something else that just came over me. I didn't even know I knew what I knew as I'm teaching this class. It was so funny. And so after the class, like 3 of the participants came up. They're like, oh my gosh, that was the best yoga class ever. And I was like, what? That was my first class. And I just thought it was hilarious. But in that moment, I was like, wow, like I had never had such an experience where I could tell that I was more the vessel. And it was not me at all. My ego was completely gone. Like I literally was just the vessel, and the wisdom that was coming out of me was there though. It was there, but I didn't even know that it was there.
Yeah.
And so I did that for the month, and it just kept, there was just more and more confirmations. And when my friend came back and we talked and kind of, just kind of debriefed, and I was like, I really think that maybe this is something that's pulling me. This is because I have a degree in finance. I worked on Wall Street. I've always been a serial entrepreneur, but a lot of times taking projects based on the bottom line, And this was the first thing that had kind of pulled me in the direction that I didn't seek it out. It was pulling me. So I was like, I should probably follow this. And if I'm going to be teaching, I definitely need to know way more. And so I looked online at the retreat space that she had just come from at Blue Spirit in Costa Rica, and they had a yoga teacher training coming up in a couple weeks. And I reserved my spot and went home, unpacked, repacked. Before you know it, I was on my way to Costa Rica and in this yoga teacher certification program. Little did I know that immersive experience was preparing me not to be a yoga teacher, but to wrap my arms around my mom, because when I finished that, literally 2 weeks after, my mom called me, and me and her hadn't spoken in a couple months, and she was just like, do you want to come cremate me and handle my financial affairs? And I was just like, whoa. I was like, what are you talking about? We had this really heartbreaking conversation. I flew out the next day, and from that moment, I had to wrap my arms around my mom. That yoga teacher training prepared me to be able to do that, because without those tools, I would not have had the depths of just understanding and empathy and compassion and forgiveness to really be present with her, at a time when she just really needed unconditional love, and we had a lot of other unresolved issues. And so it was a really healing gift for the both of us. Looking back, during the time, there were many challenges, many challenges. And me and my mom is a beautiful soul, but she also has had some traumas growing up in her childhood and just never really had the tools to heal, or even the time. She was a single mother in her life. Once she began working, she was always working, running 2 businesses, in school, just trying to do the best that she could. And when she got sick, the healthcare system, they don't look at us as a whole. So it's just, here, take a pill, and the pills start having side effects, and they don't look at our emotional health, our spiritual health, our mental health. And so just observing all these things and really seeing these things while I was close up on my mom for that time. But it was also very draining. So like 9 months in, I had literally just like tapped out. I, had exhausted all my tools. I had exhausted, my cup was just empty.
You were
and I was running on fumes. And so I arranged, my mom went to stay with my aunt, and I ended up going to back to Costa Rica and staying there for 7 months. And it was another one of those synchronistic moments. I'm on the plane in Miami, the plane's taking off. Before the wheels can even, lift into the plane, I threw my hands up in surrender. And I was like, what I need more than I know. I don't even know what I need right now, but I need you. I need guidance. And that was my prayer. Lo and behold, when I get to Costa Rica, I ended up sharing a taxi with this young lady named Dharma. And me and a friend, I had arranged that we were renting a small little Tico house right off of the beach. So you literally had to drive along the beach to get to the house. So we get to the road, and the taxi driver's like, I can't get to your house because the tide is too high. And so I was like, oh, really? And he was like, yeah. And it was too far for me to walk with my 3 big suitcases, because I planned on being there for, 6 months. Yeah. And so Dharma was like, well, why don't you just come with me? And she was going to Pachamama, which is this intentional community. It's an amazing space that offers supportive transformation And it changed my life. So we ended up going to Pachamama, and it was late when we got there. We went to sleep. I woke up the next morning and go down to the registration area, and there's their board. They do it by seasons. This was the fire season, and it had everything that I needed, Yvonne. It was just like I could not even believe it. I mean, literally the first program they had was a 10-day silent retreat. Then right after that, we did a body cleanse. So it was 8 days of fasting and cleansing, only drinking green juices, colonics, and just like really releasing a lot of that cellular memory stuff. Because a lot of our traumas and stuff are held within inside of our bodies. And so we have to be able to release, even though we have a lot of, we may have a lot of knowledge, and we may be able to intellectualize things and then even spiritually process them. But it's a culmination of all of it, and so physically just being able to cleanse and purge. And then after that, there was this amazing program called The Path to Love, which was a 7-day immersive program where you get with a partner and you have a group and you guys create horseshoes and you pretty much reveal your soul, your deepest, darkest secrets, shadows, your fears, your unworthiness, like your shame, any and all of it. You just offload it into this safe space, and everyone is there supporting you. You're being seen, you're being heard, you're being able to act crazy, you're screaming, you're having noodles, you're beating, things. And I had never experienced that, honestly. Like, I had never had a moment, where I didn't even know people did that. I was just like, but it was so freeing. And then we would do our Osho meditation every morning, which is like a burn where you're like incorporating movement in your body and you're screaming and you're dancing and you're just releasing. Because so many times, especially in our culture, we're taught to keep it in, keep quiet. You got to keep it all together. We got to look all together. We got to, appear that we have it all figured out. And sometimes you just want to scream and just like let it out. Yeah. And it's so good for us and it's so healthy, but we're not taught these things. And then after that, there was a breathwork course. So that was a 3-day workshop where we're using now the breath. So when I say it was like everything that I need, and it was a fire season. So then we take it once the physical is kind of gone, shaken up, and then you are free and you've offloaded all the things that, in your mind, you couldn't make up these stories that you're unworthy, or that you should be shameful because of these things that have happened to us. But it's really just we don't have a space to express or to share and feel supported and heard and non-judged. Once you get it out, then you're free. It's like when we hold on to it and repress it, that's what keeps us thinking that we're less than. I ended up being there from that night in the car ride for 3 months. And after all of the workshops and everything, all of the clearing and the healing, I stayed a little longer because it was just such a safe space for me to crystallize for like all the things that I was clearing and the new downloads that I was receiving. I knew I needed to stay to let them fully integrate. Because I'd done a lot of workshops before, and you go and it's a great experience and you're on this high and you got the tools. But then when you go back to your environment, if your husband or your wife or the kids, your family, your work environment is not set up where it supports that, it slowly can, trickle away. That had been my experience up until this point. You try to hold on to your tools as much as you can, but you just get back into life. And so having this space where I could just really be, and oh my gosh, Iman, we were in the jungle, and it was this little casita with just one wall. The rest was open to nature. And it was like a 12 by 12 room. It was the most simple, modest accommodations I've ever had. I had the fewest belongings I've ever had. And I just felt so free, so happy, so fulfilled, and so connected and grounded. It was just like this huge paradigm shift. One, how much stuff do we really need? And, just all these things that we're taught. And that's where the beginning of my awareness of that I'm cultivating self-love for myself came. And then from then on, it's just been a huge part of me and my passion, and just something that I felt is really important to share, because we can try to change everything around us, but it starts with us. And until we can cultivate that self-love, no matter what else we do, nothing's going to really have, sustainable change.
Yeah.
And I learned that within myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's so common for us to wanting to fix the outside of us things, because we think, once this is okay, I'll be okay. Once that is okay, I'll be okay, But it's so true for me as well. When I hear you say that, it starts within us, and the best and most efficient changes we can ever make in the world is the changes we make within ourselves. So I love that, and I agree with you. It is a very important message that needs to be spread through the world.
Yeah, it's the foundation.
Yeah, and
this is how we change the world. With ourselves. Yeah. We change ourselves. We work on ourselves, and then it spreads. It becomes contagious. And the more you are working on yourself and I'm working on myself, when we come together, there's a different synergy that is created, because we're coming from a whole place and a higher frequency overall.
Absolutely.
And
and it's such an easy change to make, love. Like, it's such, like, it doesn't have to be complicated. I used to have these debates with my father all the time, where we would talk about all the things that are wrong in the world, and then my finishing line would always be, okay, so what are you going to do about it? And it would always end with, well, there's nothing we can do. It's too big. And so that sent me on a mission to figure out what we can do about it. And that's where I landed, is what you just said, is, the only way I'm ever going to change anything in this world is if I change how I act within the world. And you said something earlier about your healing journey and how it affected your mom. I think you and I talked about this actually when I was in Hawaii. When you start healing your aspects of your life, it affects generationally through lifetimes. So it's not just your immediate life that notices a difference, but it's your mom, your grandma, and her mother, like the people that are not even with us anymore in form, anyways. It affects all of us, and I always say 7 years, but I cannot remember where I heard this from. 7 generations, not 7 years. 7 generations apparently back, and also 7 generations forward. But I can't cite where I got that 7 generations from. I don't know if it was Wayne Dyer, or if it was Louise Hay, or if it was Christine Northrup. I can't remember who it was where I heard that, but it definitely is. There's a science behind it. You're absolutely right. It's a vibration that we're bringing ourselves to. So I love that. I just think it is so fantastic that you've gone on to this brave journey to just follow your instincts, because that's what I hear you say is you really had no idea what you were getting yourself into. You just went with what felt right to you, and you listened to your heart, what it needed, what your soul, what your essence needed. And that in itself is so fantastic. Do you want to talk about self-love for a moment? Because it's just such an important piece to my life, but also a very important piece that I teach in the LEAP and also in my private coaching. Because if you're not okay, nothing else is going to be okay. So I'm curious, love, how do you practice self-love now? Do you practice it on a daily basis?
I try to, yes. I would love to say, like, yes, I have it all down and there's not a day that goes by. But honestly, I just came back from the mainland. I was there with my mom for a total of about 4 weeks. She just had a stroke, and so I had to get over there. And I found myself letting my self care kind of slip, and having to show up and just and be there for her. And that I really don't get to see my family as much. So I wanted to make the time that I was there really worthwhile and create some memories with the people that I loved. And I kind of wasn't getting my rest, or I wake up and it was like, oh man, as soon as I get up, I got to go because I'm running late. We have to be at the doctor's appointment. And I could feel it in my body. I could feel it through every fiber of myself. And I just mentioned that because I want everyone who's listening or who sees this to know that it's a journey. It's a daily practice. It's never something. It's like, oh, I've meditated, I've read this book, and I've done my gratitude journal. I self-love. I love myself. I'm good to go. And that's it.
That's enough.
Yeah, I wear my shirt and I'm good to go. No, I wish it was that easy. It's a daily, most of the time, moment by moment practice and awareness. And when you do forget, that's okay too. Be compassionate with yourself and just bring it back in, which is what I did. When I got back, I just unplugged for 2 days. I went down to the beach. I brought my book and I just kind of did nothing. I just allowed myself to be grounded in the sand and go in and out of the water. And I brought some snacks and I fell asleep on the beach. For me, the sun and the ocean are big parts of my self-love and self-care because I get so recharged and so grounded, which is why it's really important for me to live in a tropical place. I'm here in Kauai. And then also in the mornings, what I do now, first thing in the mornings, I don't check my phone. I do not allow any one else's needs, wants, or desires to bombard me first thing in the morning. I take that time and I do my deep breathing, my journaling, and my meditation. And then I try as much as, at least 4 days a week to move my body. So whether I'm going for a jog or I go to Bikram or I go to an off workout class, but keeping my body moving, because I've always been a very active person, is another self-love tool for me, because when I don't move that energy and I don't have this healthy way to let it express, it starts to build up and I start feeling tighter within my body, and then that may turn into being short with with a loved one. It's like a ripple effect. But even on days when I'm super busy, 5 minutes before my feet touch the floor, deep breathing, what am I grateful for today, and visualizing what I want my day to be like, visualizing how I see myself operating throughout my day. And that's been a really big tool for me. It's the visualization and visualizing myself almost I can see my day almost and see how I want to show up, see myself energetically as a being. What vibration am I going to hold and maintain while I'm operating through the day? And I feel that it's really helped me because you never know what the outside, aspects may be, what demands may happen, what phone calls you may get. Fortunately for me, I do what I love. I'm here at All Love, aka the Love Hub, and I get to talk about love and self-love all day. So it's
However, you created that. You decided that's what you wanted to do, and that's how you wanted to serve the world. So, I love that you said that, you start your day with that intention. And I would add to that, yeah, we may not be in control over a lot of things that happen around us during the day, but when we ground ourselves in that intention every day and every morning, we're definitely able to respond in the way that we want rather than react to whatever is happening, right? So even I remember when your mom had the stroke and you called and you said that you couldn't do this interview. I was so taken by how calm, but not careless. Like, it wasn't about you not caring. It was a calmness around you that was like, okay, I need to do this. And that was just that. So I definitely can see how when things happen that are not so good, there's still a different way of responsiveness, from availability of responsiveness within us, when we do make ourselves a priority first, right?
I would totally, yeah. I'm glad. Thanks for noticing that. Sometimes you don't know how you're handling it when you're in the moment. You're just kind of handling it as best you can. But yeah, when you set that, when you keep yourself grounded and setting that intention and knowing that you can't control the outside things that are going to happen, and when we operate from, fear, or we panic, or we're stressed out, we don't allow ourselves to operate from the best space for everyone involved. And so these, again, are tools that I feel like help us, because we never know, we would like to keep our lives really neat and clean in these containers that we can manage, and it's all, but it just doesn't happen. Unfortunately.
Even those things are reminders that, to just awaken us again, to just be more mindful and really take more care. You're speaking my language, so I know already that we're going to be a longtime friends. As always, the best conversations happen after the episode on YvonneWinkler.com/The Freedom Seeker Show. So go there, leave a comment, and let me know what resonated most with you and why. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe to our email list and become a Freedom Seeker Insider. You will get instant access to an audio I created called The 5 Steps to a Freedom Life, as well as some special content, exclusive giveaways, and some personal updates from me that don't share anywhere else except maybe texting my BF.